Hello, and thank you for exploring Lakehead International's videos. My name is Jordan, and I am the International New and Social Media Officer. I'm also the host of the Lakehead International Live series, a fun and informative way for you to connect with current international students, professors, and ask questions about admissions and everything Lakehead. You are about to watch a recording from one of our previous live sessions. If any questions arise throughout the video, please do not hesitate to comment below. If you would like to check out some of our upcoming live sessions, please head over to our website at lakeheadu.ca/international-live. Let's begin. Hello and welcome to another Lakehead International Live. My name is Jordan Ball. I'll be your host today. We are joined by our Residence Life team, and we're going to be chatting all things residence and dining. Before we get started, I'll begin with introductions, and I want to thank the audience once again for joining us. Whether it's your morning, your afternoon, your evening, we appreciate your time. We hope you brought a lot of questions for us, and we hope you're ready to learn quite a bit about our offerings here on the Thunder Bay and Aralia campus. With that being said, once again, my name is Jordan. I am the International New and Social Media Officer. I help run our live events, our digital experiences, our social media channels, as well as our Global Ambassador program here at the Thunder Bay campus. I'll pass it over to Hector to introduce himself, and then we'll continue on down our list.
Thank you, Jordan. Hello, everyone. My name is Hector Michelena, and I'm one of the international recruitment officers here at Lakehead. I oversee our outreach efforts in the Americas, and my main role is to help prospective students like you find the right program at Lakehead University and guide you through our application and admissions process. So I'm happy to be here to answer any of those questions today.
Awesome. Thanks again for joining us, Hector. He'll be behind the scenes answering plenty of questions, I'm sure. But without further ado, I'll introduce our special guests from Residence, and I'll pass it over to Michelle to begin.
Thank you so much, Jordan. And thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Michelle Denton. I'm the Residence Area Coordinator, one of them here on the Thunder Bay campus. I directly oversee residence halls, so that dormitory style housing, and primarily those first year students coming straight from high school.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle, for joining us. Next, I'll pass it over to Andrew.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Andrew Galloway here. I oversee apartment townhouses. I am the resident area coordinator for that area. So mainly dealing with upper year students, mature students in that capacity, providing support and just being a part of the Res Life team for the first year. So I'm excited to be here, and thank you so much, Jordan, for inviting me to be on this call.
Awesome. Well, it's my pleasure hosting you. And last but not least, I'll pass over to Serena, who is on our Aralia team.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Jordan, for having me here today. My name is Serena. I'm the Residence Area Coordinator, and I oversee the one and only residence building in Aralia. So if you're interested in moving to Aralia, I'm the one to talk to. I went to school here for my Bachelor of Education, and I loved it so much that I wanted to come back and work here. So if that sparks something for you, then please talk to us, and I'm excited for our webinar today.
Awesome. Once again, thank you for joining us, to the three of you and to Hector behind the scenes. And with that being said, we'll dive into the beginning of today's session. Before we actually talk about sort of all things residence and dining, we're going to chat first about what we're going to cover. So I'll go over upcoming events within the Lakehead International Live series. I'll chat about benefits of residence. Then I'll pass it over to our Res Life team to chat about on-campus options, meal plans, Res Life, all that sort of stuff, so you get a better understanding of what we have here at Lakehead University to offer you. And on that note, I'll begin with our transition series, upcoming events. So tomorrow we actually have a very exciting event for winter 2022 pre-arrival planning. So for those applicants that are joining us in January in this upcoming year, you are highly encouraged to join this event. It's going to have key details for you related to departures, arrivals in Canada, quarantine, vaccination, all that sort of stuff, and making sure that you're prepared for your journey across the world. And so once again, that's tomorrow, Thursday, November 11th at 9 a.m. Other sessions include paying your tuition fees, as well as our hometowns, where we're going to explore actually Thunder Bay, Aralia, and Barrie with our Lakehead Georgian partnership. If you're interested in any one of these sessions, you can head over to lakeheadu.ca/international-live, and you can register now. In our Lakehead Explored series, we have a Finding Your program where we're going to dive into the academics of Lakehead. If you're looking for a more broad scale overview of Lakehead University, our support services, a little touch on that residence piece, you can join us for the Getting to Know Lakehead. And if you're looking to maybe apply for an upcoming intake date, potentially spring or even fall 2022, I encourage you to join our admissions and applications session where we actually walk through that online application. Once again, you can join Lakehead, you can register, pardon me, at lakeheadu.ca/international-live. And last but not least, we have our Academics Explored session. So engineering is kicking off next week on November 16th, followed by teachers education. And then we have a full roster all the way through until December. With that being said, if you would like to watch any one of our faculty sessions on demand, you can head over to our YouTube channel, Lakehead International, and you can watch those today. On that note, I'll chat one last thing here of my housekeeping notes, as I like to say, things that are friendly reminders or to keep in mind while watching today's live webinar. If you like what you see, don't worry, we are recording, and so we will be posting that recording on our YouTube channel so it can live on demand for forever, essentially, and you can watch it back. Or if you have to head out early, maybe you join late, you can always check it out again. If you have any questions for us, we encourage you to use Zoom's Q&A chat if you're joining us live, and we will be answering both behind the scenes throughout the session. We'll be answering questions live, working them into our conversations, all that sort of stuff. If you're watching this as a recording, you can comment on that video anywhere it's posted and we'll be happy to address it. Last but not least, I want to encourage you to follow us on our social media channels. You can find us at Lakehead International on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And we actually are just recently launching our very first podcast, Destination Unboxed. And so I highly encourage you to check all of those out. And on that note, I'll dive into residence and dining, and I'm going to kick things off with chatting about life on campus and the benefits to you as a student in choosing on-campus options, at least for your first year. That's something that I always like to note is our strongest encouragement for first-year students that are making the journey all the way to Canada is choosing on-campus residence, because we know it actually equates to more success within our students. So number one, first and foremost, it's very convenient. As you can imagine, our residence buildings are conveniently located on our campuses and are simply steps away from your campus building. So whether it's rolling out of bed and going to class, rolling out of bed to go and get that first meal of the day, or even go get a quick workout in, or head over to one of our nature trails that surrounds our campuses. There's a lot of options and it's all convenient. Living on residence also helps sort of facilitate building lifelong connections, friendships, and networks. So you're going to make friends with your roommates, your floor mates, your housemates, but also through all of the activities that residence hosts, and there are a lot, to say the least. You'll have that opportunity to connect with students in other programs, other disciplines, other year levels, and will help you build those friendships and obviously network. So going on beyond your university career, these are people that you will know and continue to communicate with. There's also plenty of leadership and job opportunities, whether it's joining a special committee, whether it's joining the part-time job aspect of residence life, which we can chat about certainly. There's lots of opportunities for you. And last but not least, it's safe and secure. We have on-campus security at both of our campuses 24/7, 365, but we also have an additional layer of security with our residence assistants who are always on call. And so wherever you are living on our campuses, if you're living in one of our residences, you can ensure that you will always have access to somebody who is trained in all sorts of preparedness planning, but also making sure that you have a support system that you can lean on to. And with that being said, I'm actually going to pass it over to Michelle to kick things off with our Thunder Bay residents.
Thank you so much, Jordan. So what we're looking at right now is our Bartley Residence, which is our main residence front desk for all of our residents that we talk about today on the Thunder Bay campus, as well as primarily our main residence halls for those first-year students coming straight from high school. I'm actually coming from you live right from the building that you see behind Bartley Front here in Kenora Building, and you're also looking at Long Lac Building there too. Why do I say these names? It's because when you come to residence, you join a house, and Residence Halls has 9 houses located in our Bartley residence. And in that house, that's where you create that community and that sense of family. And we have different styles of accommodations in each of those houses. So if you choose to live in residence halls for your first year here on campus, you get to choose between a basic single or a single room. It's important that all of our residence halls, whether you're on the Thunder Bay or when Serena talks about the Aralia campus, are all individual rooms. So you don't have a direct roommate in your living bedroom space. And we'll talk about the difference when Aralia, when Serena talks about that as well. But our rooms are move-in ready. So that building that you saw, you're going to move in with 29 other first-year students. You're already making those connections that Jordan talked about, making those instant friends, and you're able to just bring your own personal items to come move into your fully furnished bedroom. And we have wireless internet located throughout all of our buildings. We provide all of the amenities for you. So the bed, the bookshelves, you see our beautiful windows, the one directly behind me, looking right onto our river that encompasses campus as well. And the closet space. The difference between the two is one of the bigger questions that we get. And the difference is the size of the room. So our basic single, if you see on the screen in front of you, is our cozier of the two options. It only has one closet space. The single room is a more spacious option, and it has two closet spaces as well as a chair. All of our rooms come with a mini fit fridge provided, as well as all amenities like your lamps, your bookshelves, your desks, and your dressers. In each of the buildings, you'll also have common spaces for you to hang out with your friends. Well, that's a beautiful photo right now of our Bartley single room. Again, that's what I'm in right now as my office. And it's important that, yes, you have your individual rooms, but you're making friends and connections in some of those common spaces. So we do have a lounge space that's located in each of the buildings for you to do activities and programs, as well as laundry facilities connected with each of the houses.
Also, Michelle, I'll jump in, and I know that you already mentioned this, but having that really big desk in there for studies, so whether you want to spread your books out, whether you're doing drafting, whatever it might be, you have plenty of space, but there's also that dedicated study room within each of our houses or within each of our accommodation options, where you can actually go and hang out with your friends within your house and study at the same time. I mean, I am a graduate of Lakehead University's business program, so I can attest that I did a lot of group work. And so I absolutely loved having the opportunity to sort of work in a group setting, but it's to each their own, whatever you want to do. There's plenty of flexibility here. Another thing to mention is the windows. I think that if anyone has seen my previous sessions where I talk about residents and talk about the windows, all of our options have a really large windows letting in a lot of natural light, which I think is so important to someone, whether they want to get fresh air in their room, whether they just want to see a bright, beautiful sunny day, or if they're looking for a little extra hours of sleep, they can close those blinds and certainly head right back to bed.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan.
Awesome. So I'm going to pass it over next to Andrew, who's going to chat about apartments and townhouses.
Great, thanks a lot, Jordan. Yeah, so Lakehead Thunder Bay campus offers not only the dorms, as Michelle mentioned, but we also have what's called apartments and townhouses. And this is predominantly more for upper year students. So students who maybe went to another institution and have decided to attend Lakehead, or maybe they've taken a year off or a couple of years off and have decided to come to school. So the apartments and townhouses offer a really great way to, as Jordan mentioned earlier, kind of facilitate those long life connections and kind of building that community. So as you notice here in the apartments, there's four bedrooms. So each student gets their own bedroom. It comes equipped with a bed, desk, dresser, side table, shelves, and a closet as well. The nice thing about the apartments as well is that it comes with a full-size bathroom and also a half bathroom, which is great. Then there's also the kitchen amenities. It comes with a fridge and freezer. So similar to the dorm style, you just have to bring your personal items and everything else is kind of provided for you in terms of furniture, stove, microwave, freezer, fridge, all of those things. Now with the townhouses, to me, it really gives you more of that off-campus feeling. Just kind of the way that you're situated on campus. It's just a nice, it provides two different levels. Right, so there's an upstairs and a main floor. So when you first walk into the area, you have your kitchen and living room and dining room all on the main floor. And again, it comes fully furnished. with all the amenities that you need there. Again, Wi-Fi. And then if you go upstairs to the bedrooms, again, you're living with there's 4 students that share this space and each get their own bedroom. And then there's just one shared bathroom in the townhouses, which isn't an issue, especially if you and your students or you and your roommates don't have classes at the same time, right? So then there's never an issue of getting in. But these townhouses open up into nice grassed backyards. Some of them are right along the river. There's a lot of wildlife that kind of comes through there, deer and things like that you get to enjoy right out the back window or out your window as well. So those are some of the accommodations that we offer for the apartment and townhouses.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Andrew. So something to reiterate and something that we haven't talked about because we have a dedicated session, but I'll sort of jump ahead of myself here, is that meal plans are mandatory as part of residence halls options. And as a part of the apartments and townhouse options on the Thunder Bay campus, you have optional meal plans. And so you do have the full kitchen facilities. And so whether you're going to make all of your meals, make some of them, and supplement that with a partial meal plan on campus, there's a lot of flexibility with that. We'll definitely dive into that in more detail. But I'm going to address one question we have open-ended question about sort of living in apartments and townhouses. It says, can first-year students choose to stay in an apartment or townhouse? And so although first-year student is sort of a broad statement, for upper year students, so for our graduate students maybe entering a PhD or a master's, we typically encourage them to go into a townhouse or apartment, just based on, they've probably been living out of home or they have a little more experience in the world in general. And so we encourage them to do that. Whereas our first year students joining directly out of high school, we strongly encourage you to join our residence halls options. We know that those residence hall options, given the fact that you have the meal plan and you have a stronger support system and a larger roommate group or house group that you can lean on, we see greater success in that. With all that being said, you do have the flexibility of still choosing which option might be best for you. And then our residence team will certainly work with you to make sure that all of the details are ready for you when you arrive here in Thunder Bay or Aralia. Another question we got is, can we live on campus residence throughout our program duration, which is going to be 4 years, including summer breaks? So that's a really good question. On the Thunder Bay campus, absolutely, you're more than welcome to live on our campus all 4 years. Maybe you take 5 years, maybe you add a master's, maybe you add a PhD down the road. You're more than welcome to stay on campus the entire time. In Aralia, historically, we have offered summer accommodations. Throughout COVID, we weren't able to offer those summer accommodations, and I don't want to speak prematurely or jump the gun for Serena, but I would imagine that we'll probably bring those summer accommodations back in the upcoming years. But of course, like I have said before, if you do have specific questions or you really want to get those answers, you can certainly reach out to our residence team and our administrative assistants, and they'd be happy to address those. So next, we're going to dive into some photos actually of the apartment. So like Andrew mentioned, you do have the full kitchen here in the apartment. And so what you see is the kitchen, the dining room in your right-hand corner there, and then your living room with actually a small TV there that you can plug a laptop in, stream your Netflix on, or there is satellite TV, if I'm not mistaken, or at least cable TV, one of the two. And so there's plenty of options. This is a great space to hang out with your roommates, or if you're allowed, if your roommates are flexible with it, you can certainly spread out and study at maybe the dining room table with them as well. This is a photo of the apartment, the townhouse living options. And so here is actually the photo of the living room, and you actually see the staircase off to the right here where that goes up and leads you to the 4 bedrooms. Private bedrooms, all of them locked, and then of course your bathroom, which is a full bathroom. Off camera, just to the right of the screen here, we actually have your full kitchen as well as a dining room for you to eat. And Andrew mentioned you have a beautiful door that leads out to a backyard essentially where you can access nature. So whether you're going to head over to one of our walking trails, maybe there's a deer that's going to come and give a friendly hello. Something to note, wildlife on campus is almost exclusively friendly, and they're almost always more scared of you than you are scared of them. If you're looking to check out some of those photos, we have them posted all over our social media too. With that being said, I'll pass it back to Michelle maybe for final words on this beautiful photo of one of our sunsets here on the Thunder Bay campus.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. And it's important to know that we're really here to support you during your transition. And it's great to see those international students and first year students, whether you choose to live in a dormitory style accommodation or apartment townhouse, come and let us help you with that transition. Coming to university alone is a big step, and then coming to Canada is also a big step in itself as well. So doing both at the same time, we really want to help you with that transition, whether it's the Thunder Bay or Aralia campus. And this is one of my favorite views. Behind it is the gym. There's like a little bridge that walks over to it. Personally, I have my favorite little sitting spot on the rock at the river right there. And the campus is beautiful. So if you get a chance to check it out, I know Lakehead International has their social media and they have lots of photos and input on it as well. We also have our own resident social media as well. And I'll put that in the chat for everyone if you'd like to check it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. And with that, I'll pass over to Serena to chat all about Aralia Residence. This is actually the residence pictured here, but I'll pass it over to her to chat more.
Thank you, Jordan. And looking at all of the pictures from Lakehead and Thunder Bay is so beautiful and so outstanding. And I wish I had a chance to go over there and visit. But over here in Aralia, we have one residence building and 2 other buildings on campus. So you're just steps away from your classes and your food. So pretty much where this photo is being taken is from where you eat. So it's really handy to have easy access to everything that you're going to be needing for school. The small campus community is approximately 120 students. So when we're looking at, like, there's people from all over the world, and there's people in the city, the country, you name it, you'll find someone from someone from everywhere, sorry. And there's people from first year to 4th year, as well as master's students and people doing their professional programs. So you're definitely not alone. Everyone's on a first name basis around here, and you get to know all the people around you, staff, students, etc. So you make lots of friends. So in this single room, you can see from the top upper hand side, that's where you would walk in. And then you have what's called a can mate. So that's someone that you're sharing the washroom with. So you still have your personal bedroom, just like in Thunder Bay, but you walk in and then you can have your washroom. But if someone's using the washroom, you can still have a spot to wash your hands, brush your teeth, all of that with a little sink on the side. There's a lot of space for putting your clothes, whether it's under the bed, on the side. And in Aralia, we're one of the few places where you can have a twin bed. So if you can see that, there's a lot of room where your actual bedroom area is. There's a mini fridge as well. And it's super cozy, really handy, and you have that automatic friend right away from the get-go of someone you can go to orientation with, which is fantastic. Over here, we have these little can make contracts so that you can make sure that, you know, like, oh, if someone's buying toilet paper, this and that, and really get to know the role, so you don't have any issues there, and you can just focus on your schooling and being friends. I saw some postings in the chat. In advance, you fill out a form where you say what your lifestyle would be. So whether it's you wake up early, you wake up late, if you like the temperature in your room to be a certain degree, you have your own like heating or like air conditioning system, which would be the 2 of you. So our administration here does puts a lot of effort into making sure that you have someone that's suitable with your lifestyle attached to your room, so that you can feel comfortable. And if you happen to know someone that's also going to Lakehead, you can suggest them in advance to be your can mate. So that's a little bit about our room here.
Awesome. And here's actually a photo of what we were just looking at in the draw up of the room. And so, like Serena mentioned, you have a full desk there, you have your bed. This is actually a double bed, and it's quite comfortable, if I do say so myself. Behind the camera, something else I like to note is that massive window, once again, that you get all that natural light in. There's actually not a light on in this photo. Maybe there is over by the doorway in that huge closet that you have tons of space. So whether you're going to load it up with your suitcases or clothes or just extra stuff that you're bringing from home to make it feel a little more special, there's a lot of space, to say the least, to put stuff away here. Serena, did you have anything to add?
No, I think that's great. Thank you.
Awesome. And something else to note in terms of students that are living on campus in Aralia, you will also have access to a shared social lounge, a shared study space, and laundry facilities, all within the convenience of either your floor or the residence building itself. And there's additional supports and services built into residence life. Before we dive into that, though, we're going to chat about meal plans. And so meal plans are mandatory on the Aralia campus and are mandatory for residence halls on the Thunder Bay campus. They are optional for apartments and townhouses. We'll kick things off with our Thunder Bay campus, and I'll pass over to Michelle to chat more about residence halls. And then I'm sure Andrew will follow up with apartments and townhouses.
Awesome. Food is definitely something you don't have to worry about the amount and the quantity and the variety of when you're on a residence hall's mandatory meal plan. Our cafeteria service has different stations in it. It's like a buffet. So you go in for your all you care to eat dining package plan for the mandatory meals. You can go in as many or as little times as you wish to get a variety of food with different ethnicities and palates. You go in one day and we might have a Greek souvlaki bar. The next day you might walk in and there's curry and rice. And the chef here is really open to trying new things and bringing new menu items on, which is really awesome. And they work with the students. It is an all-access meal plan during operational hours, and then after hours or at our Airmark food provider services on campus, you have $800 declining balance that you're able to use. So that would work at our Dan's Diner, which is located directly on campus, right in that Bentley Residence dormitory style housing. So your $800 declining balance works there, as well as at our Starbucks. We have milk teas, bubble tea, convener on campus right now, as well as our main cafeteria, which has our rotating kitchen with all of our local options that come in. I believe right now the jerk spice or there is in our cafeteria at the moment. So food is definitely not something you need to worry about on this mandatory meal plan. There's tons of options and lots of quantity. They are also very accommodating for any dietary restrictions that you might have. So whether it be vegan, vegetarian, halal, nut-free, gluten-free, they will work with you as long as you're identifying it, as well as our food is labeled for you to see what is in it.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. I'll pass it over to Andrew to chat about apartments and townhouses and how you can supplement that experience with optional meal plans.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we noticed in the apartments and townhouses, you do have your own kitchen where you can cook your own meals. However, should you choose, you can still get on a meal plan. So then you do have access to the residence dining halls or the main caf, or you can pick up, as Michelle mentioned, about a declining balance. Okay, but those are not mandatory as they are for residence halls, but they are a nice option should you not feel like cooking on weekends, or maybe throughout the week and you just want to stop between classes and grab lunch or grab dinner. So you still have access to all of the residence cafeterias, and the cafeterias there. Just it's not mandatory if you're living in the apartments and townhouses.
Awesome. And actually a good story I have about that is one of our past student workers in our office lived 4 years on campus. So that actually answers another question. Can I do the living on campus the entire duration of my degree? And the answer is yes, but she supplemented her apartment and townhouse options with a meal plan. And she just said, wake up in the morning, I got a little extra sleep in, I could stop by and grab a coffee or grab a quick bagel or something in the morning. And then maybe she went back to her residence and cooked herself lunch. And maybe dinner that day, she had time to make it. Other days, she wanted to focus on studying. And so she simply went to the cafeteria and she grabbed a meal. And so the flexibility in that, it's for each and every student, and it's something that you're going to want to assess on your own. You can certainly, if you are living in an apartment or a townhouse, when you first arrive on campus, you can sort of play it by ear. And what I mean by that is you can start to see whether or not you do have enough time to make all those meals. And then even if you're halfway through a semester and you realize, I'm probably ready for that meal plan, I want to add it now, you can work with our food services office to add that on.
And so I think you made a really important.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
We're both very excited about food, obviously. But I think you made a really important point there about when your meal plan would be added to your account that I just want to highlight. So res halls, it's already automatically added onto your account through those fees, and you'll see that in the amount per room. So it's already included in. For upper year, for apartments and townhouses, you can't actually add it on until you come to campus. So just like Jordan said, you'll check out campus, you'll see if it's for you to add on a little bit, and then once you are here, you're able to do so through our food provider.
Let's see. You said it better than I would have, so yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll pass it over to Serena to chat about the Aralia meal plan.
Awesome, thank you. So like I said before, everyone from first year onwards to whatever year, any age, the building is meant for you, and it's also a part of the meal plan. So you have the option between the 5-day meal and the 7-day meal plan. The 5-day meal plan would be Monday to Friday, and you can go whenever you want, tap as many times as you want. And essentially it's the same as having a kitchen at home. So you could sit in the dining hall, do your homework, and then you want an apple, tap, you wanted this, tap, you want breakfast, lunch, dinner, you could just sit there all day. Obviously you can leave and come back and just eat whenever you want. And the same for the 7-day meal plan. On both plans, you have your declining balance dollars that you could use at the kiosks that we have in the main building. So if you're off getting, you want to have a latte, you want to grab a muffin in between classes, something like that, then you have that money to use always. Or if you have a friend that you wanted to treat for food that's not in residence, or your family comes to visit, then that's when you can use it. So when it comes to dietary issues or any like restrictions or preferences, there's a lot of help here. So we have a new food provider, Dana Hospitality, and they're fantastic. And since there's about 100 to 200 students here in regards to residents, they know everyone very well. They know your name, they know what meal you're having. Sometimes I just walk up and they're like, oh, you want this, right? Or they're like, I didn't put the bun on for you, I know you don't want that. So it's very homey, and it's just fantastic, the support. If you say what you like or you're allergic to or what you don't want to have, they respect that. And even if you're just someone who loves food, they will notice what people are enjoying, and they'll make sure it's coming up again. So I think that's fantastic, and it's really nice how happy they are, because everyone loves food, and we get to go there all the time, which is great.
I can attest to that. I stayed on the Aralia campus when I was there for work a couple of years ago. And by day 3, I didn't get a bagel. I had got it day 1 and day 2. And the girl commented, she's like, no bagel for you this morning, Jordan. And she knew my name, knew my order. So I was blown away after 3 days. So I can imagine, obviously, after a full semester or a full year, or for students that are potentially looking at the entire duration of their program, you're going to get to know these food providers quite well. And to just piggyback off what Serena said, they're more than accommodating. And so whether or not you have a dietary restriction, a certain type of a meal plan that you need to follow, they'll probably sit down and have a conversation with you to better understand it and make sure that they can accommodate that. A good question and a good segue that I can build in is Indian food available? And so we definitely have that worked into our menu on a regular basis. And there is options. There's a lot of variety to that. Again, we're also open to suggestions, and we're always looking for new ideas. Our chefs love experimenting at the same time. In our towns too, there's some really good options. In Thunder Bay, I have my favorite takeout options that are off campus if you're looking to really get a full menu of Indian food. I'll pass it over to Serena, to add on to that as well.
Thanks, Jordan. I'm glad you brought that up, because there is a lot of variety here for any cultural food. Every day there's something different, and you never know, like, they love to experiment, and it's just fantastic. One day there'll be kimchi, there'll be curries, there'll be anything, you name it, and I just love it, and everyone's loving it too. The one thing that I thought was fantastic is if you're coming from another country and there's something that you really love, there's like that meal that your mom made or something that you just love to have, they will take that recipe and they want to try it out so that you and other people can enjoy it too while you're over here. So there's a lot, and it's really interesting. Everyone's happy to try it, and then other friends are like, oh wow, I want to taste it too. So thanks, Jordan, for bringing it up.
Awesome. So on that note, it's a segue into our residence life. But before we begin, there's a few questions in the chat that I wanted to get through so that we don't have everyone waiting until the end. I know that anticipation is just going to kill you maybe. But the first one here is there a guarantee that you will get the type of room in that you want, which you select and apply for? Sorry, read that backwards for a second. So if you're applying to, say, the Thunder Bay campus and you apply exclusively to residence halls, you will be guaranteed for residence halls. We're not going to throw you into apartments or townhouses. If any situation was to arise where we recognize maybe a different option is better for you, we will certainly communicate with you, work with you to make sure that you approve that. Though that is few and far between, if not almost never, but I'll pass it over to Michelle to answer that in more depth. And then I know she has a question she's going to answer next as well.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. I think you answered that pretty well. For what we do here on the Thunder Bay campus is whatever type you apply for, as soon as you apply for residence, you get slotted in to fill that room space. So I always encourage any individual, once you decide Lakehead is for you and residence is for you, to get that application in, and that will more so guarantee your room selection. So as long as if you're that high school student, getting that residence application in by that deadline to guarantee res hall accommodations, or you're applying by the deadline for apartments and townhouses as well, then you're more guaranteed to get that option. If you're applying late or you're not able to apply until closer to like move-in, that's when it gets a little bit questionable about the specific accommodation options that are still available and your preference choice.
Awesome.
And then yeah, and staying on that note of preference choices, I do see the question in the chat of, do we have separate dorm floors for boys and girls in the Bentley Residence? So the answer for this in Bentley Residence is no. We have mixed living houses, but you have your individual bedroom. So I think that's really important. So your bedroom, which has a lock that you have individually, is your own space. We have shared lounge spaces and study spaces like we mentioned, but we also then have the gendered washrooms as well in Bentley Residence. We do have an all-female floor option available in a separate residence building. It's not showcased on this webinar because the amenities are identical to the ones that you'd see in Bentley Residence, and the housing rooms are limited. However, it is an option for you if that's something you would like to choose.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. Another question we have is, when will the room allotment start for Aralia residents? And so I'll put Serena on the spot. In terms of students that are joining, for example, this winter, this webinar is focused on students that are going to be joining us this January. Have room allotments already begun, or have students been assigned roommates, or is that still a work in progress for your team over there, Serena?
So if someone wanted to come in January, there are students that are staying throughout the whole year. So there are a lot of rooms that are already taken. However, there are still spaces for people to come and live here. So if you wanted to, that's fantastic. So send us an email and we can try to figure out what would be best for you and what floor you would be suited on based on your preferences and what your experience is, and all the things that I mentioned before. So definitely excited to have you on board if you'd like to join in winter.
Awesome. And then for students that are looking at potentially joining us later this spring, so spring 2022 or fall 2022, joining us in September or maybe a few weeks earlier in August, we'll chat about an application. We are going to actually go through the application in just a moment after we talk about residence life, but it is specific to our winter intake. So with that being said, I'm going to pass over to Michelle, who's going to chat, or Michelle or Andrew, who's going to chat about residence life.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. I think we're gonna, with this, answer some of the questions that are in the chat as well. Residence life is our pride and joy. It is one of my biggest passions. It's how I actually got involved in this role, is by being a part of residence life as a student, and that's something that you could be as well. Our residence life team is all student staff, and we're gonna start off by talking about our resident assistants with Andrew Galloway.
Yeah, so our resident assistants, so every house, as we've been talking about, has a resident assistant, or we kind of abbreviate that as RA. And the RA, not only do they really help build community within your house or on your floor, but they really provide that transition and that support, especially for new students or first-year students or even upper-year students as well. Campus also does have security, as we talked about, but the RAs add that extra layer of security because we're really all about safety and providing a nice, secure, safe space to live in. And our RAs are on call as well. So especially in the evening, you can always get a hold of somebody almost 24/7. You can always get a hold of somebody to talk to, whether you need support. Perhaps maybe you're going through a few things. Maybe you're not too sure where to go or what to do about a certain situation, right? Those RAs are really there to provide that level of support for you, whether that's mental health, or maybe you're struggling academically, or maybe positive things are going on as well, and you just want to share that, and maybe you want to get other people involved and run some sort of fun activity, to help build that community as well. So you can reach out to them to kind of help with that. And as Jordan kind of alluded to at the start, it's really about building that community and making those lifelong connections. And the RA really helps emphasize and bring all that together as well. But in addition to that, they do have a support person, which Michelle here will talk about what the house president does.
Yeah, so our house president works alongside with that resident assistant. It's important to note that we're not just talking about the Thunder Bay campus here, we're talking about the Aralia campus as well. So this is Lakehead residents as a whole. And your house president, along with your resident assistant, they're those instant friends. So you have two people on your floor, whether it's in Aralia, in your house, or in your apartment or townhouse community, who want to be your friend and want to see you be successful and really make residence your home away from home. Your house president is that, I call them the event coordinator, the fun coordinator. They're going to get to know each and every student, and they're going to ask what kinds of opportunities you would like to have here in the event aspect. So would you like to explore the town that's around you, whether that's going to the waterfront in Aralia or that's Mount McKay here in Thunder Bay? Do you want to have some pizza parties and watch some and events that are on TV, or do you want to make more connections with the Lakehead University campus as well? So they are planning programs for you, and that's what part of what you're paying into for that transition. I know one of a really popular program in the winter is our house presidents like to coordinate like what to wear in Thunder Bay specifically event, and they talk about winter weather and clothing, and they actually go off campus, use our local bus system that you pay into through that Lakehead fees, and go to some local stores and talk about winter clothing and jackets, and they help with that transition. And that's really why that transitional housing of residents is so important in helping with you. And I did see a question in the chat that says, if I live off campus, can I join residence activities? And unfortunately, you won't be invited to join in on our resident specific activities, because that is what you're paying in for, some of those extra amenities and assets for living on campus. If we're doing an activity as a whole with all of the Lakehead community, of course, we'd love to see you as well. However, for resident specific ones, unfortunately not. Upcoming right now, we have our Lakehead Thunderwolves hockey team is in town here in Thunder Bay, and but that's one of my favorite programs. We have on Friday, we have like a pregame pizza, and then the bus takes you right from Bentley Residence that we saw you. It takes you right to the game. You go watch the game, and then the bus picks you right back up at the hockey rink and takes you back home. So you know it's safe, you know it's secure, you're making those connections, making those friendships. And we do it at a fraction of the cost. So we try and help you out so you can have some experiences and save a couple bucks at the same time.
Awesome. So I'll add on to that events piece, Michelle. Lakehead International as a whole, we host a plethora of events in Thunder Bay as well as Aralia, but there's so many other departments and teams and organizations, committees, clubs, groups in general that host regular events that are open to the entire campus community, as well as our broader hometowns community. But like Michelle said, there are resident-specific events that are exclusive to folks that are living on campus so that they can build those closer connections with their fellow roommates, housemates, residence mates, whatever you want to call them. And so if you're interested in looking more, you can certainly explore our events calendar to get a simple taste of sort of what's going on campus right now.
And just to add on to that, and as Michelle mentioned, if these are things that you're interested in being a part of, all the RAs and the house presidents are staff or our students who attend Lakehead. So if that's something that you're interested in, we'd love to have you join and be part of the team and provide that excitement and make a difference in the next wave of students that come in. So don't be shy if that's something that you're interested in as well.
Awesome. And it looks like I had some slides dedicated to our RAs and HPs, but that's okay. Before we dive into the application, I did want to answer a few more questions here. I think some of them are really great. For example, which residence building is closest to the Faculty of Engineering, i.e. software engineering? Is it Bartley or the all-female residence? So one thing to note, within Lakehead University's structure of the delivery of our courses, although our Faculty of Engineering is located in the Centennial Building, your courses will be spread out over the entire Thunder Bay campus. And honestly, our residence location is so convenient. No matter where you live, you're less than 5 minutes away from all of our academic buildings, excluding maybe the Boralaskan Faculty of Education. That one might be a bit, an extra couple minute walk, but that's okay. So honestly, I would say any one of our residence options is going to be good for you. If you are a high school student joining a university or coming to Canada for the first time, I would strongly encourage our residence halls. Another question we have is, what is the difference between single and basic single and Bartley residence? The simple answer is the size. And so our single is slightly larger. It's what Michelle and Andrew are in technically right now, although they've been converted to offices. It's larger, you have a little more space to move around and store stuff. You have an extra closet, that sort of thing. You have a chair, whereas our basic single is a little more cozy in there. You don't have the chair, you have one closet, but nonetheless, both options are great. And you still have tons of room to bring all sorts of clothes and whatnot with you to campus. Another question we're going to answer is, can a family member stay with us? Also, is there family accommodations? So I'm going to answer family accommodations first, and then I'm going to pass it over to Res Life for the first part of that question. So unfortunately, on all of our campuses, Aralia and Thunder Bay, we do not offer family accommodations. You would be looking at off-campus housing options. So whether it's going to be renting an entire home, an apartment, a condo, whatever it might be, there's plenty of options in both of our city locations. And we do have actually an off-campus housing listing on our website, as well as other resources available to you. You can certainly work with our International Student Services team to chat more about sort of what their opinions are, maybe get recommendations on the neighborhoods that we would recommend that are conveniently located to our campuses. Although we do not facilitate that actual agreement, we always and strongly encourage that before you sign a lease agreement, before you make a down payment on an off-campus housing option, you actually see it in person or have a trusted family, friend, a colleague, whatever it might be, go and see that in person and make sure that it's going to be a good fit for you and it's up to whatever their listing is offering. I'm going to pass over to the Res Life team to answer whether or not family members can stay on campus for short-term visits. Maybe I'll put Michelle on the spot if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so family members are currently on both of our Thunder Bay and our Aralia campus. Due to COVID, we don't have off-campus guests permitted at this time. However, when COVID restrictions aren't in place for that, you are able to come and visit your student. So if you are a family member, you're able to come visit. I would recommend looking at some of our local hotels that are very close to campus for the staying, if you're planning on staying overnight, just because they are individual bedrooms as well as shared living spaces for apartments and townhouses. However, there is a little part in our contract as well as living on campus where you are able to have guests and come visit for a short period of time. Communication is the biggest component to that, and you're always welcome and encouraged to reach out to your resident assistant or house president if you know that you'll have some family coming into town to visit.
And to add on to that also, what we would encourage for students that maybe have a family member that comes to visit, stays off campus in a hotel, and they say, you know what, I'm gonna I'm going to go stay with my parents in that hotel, just to give your RA or your HP a heads up that you'll be off campus, so that if they're looking for you, you're not missing for an entire weekend. You know, they know, oh, they're just over at the hotel across the street. So it's it's all about that communication, and the fact that you are building these friendships, especially those two first friends you have, the RA and the HP, are going to be your go-to people. You're going to start to foster that relationship with them, and you're going to want to tell them, you know, you're probably going to be ecstatic that your family's coming, or at least that's what we hope. And so I'm sure you'll always be in communication with them. So on that note, we're going to dive into the application of residence. I know that we have about 10 minutes left on today's session, so I want to remind our viewers, if you do have any questions about residence in general or offerings in general, you can submit those in the Q&A. We'll do our best to have our team answer behind the scenes so that we don't run out of time, but we'll also save a couple minutes at the end to answer a few more questions. So I'll begin by introducing the current application. So if you are joining us for winter 2022 or January 2022, you're going to be using a MyInfo application to apply. MyInfo is Lakehead University's student portal. You'll log in using your username and password that was provided to you when you originally applied. If you don't have that information, it was sent in something we call the acknowledgement email. If you don't have that acknowledgement email handy, if you search your inbox, check your spam, you can't find it, I encourage you to connect directly with our admissions team. So whether it's undergraduate admissions or our graduate studies office, they would be happy to help you with that. Once you actually sign in, on the left-hand side, you're going to have quite a few options. This is a screenshot from mine, so you see quite a bit more. The employee alumni would not be applicable. But if you are eligible to register, you would see the student tab. If you're not eligible to register, but you've applied, you'll see the applicant tab. Either the student or applicant tab will lead you to this next section. And so for undergrad applicants, if you're on the applicant tab, you will go to phase 2 of admissions and you will apply for residence. If you're a graduate student, you'll go to the graduate student section and apply for residence. If you are applying through the student tab, you'll actually go to the on-campus residence tab or section and click resident services, which will then prompt you to begin the application. At this point, I'll pass over to Michelle to sort of walk through at a high level the next steps of this application.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. So whichever one you choose when you go to apply, this is the page you're currently going to be sent to. It's important to look at what application you're looking at. So if you're looking at coming for the winter term, right now we see on the screen that the spring summer application is also available. So whatever application is open will be shown on this page. So you're going to click apply to residence, and that's going to start your application.
Something to note here, this is a screenshot from last year, I believe, when we hosted a similar one. So spring summer is not open quite yet. And obviously we're not applying for 2021 anymore. But like Michelle noted, whatever applications are open will be accessible on the screen here. And once you begin that application, you'll see this first step, which I'll pass back to Michelle to go over.
This is where you're creating your residence profile. So this is giving us all of the information about you as an individual and a student, so we can best support you while you're on campus, as well as place for housing based off of preferences and roommate choices. If you are living in apartment or townhouse style and you are not applying with a roommate grouping. So make sure you fill in all this information, including emergency contact. And then as soon as you fill this in and added a profile photo, you're going to click on continue to application to continue on. So once you've done that, this is where we get, I call it like the nitty gritty or the important details. This is what you would like to see in your living preferences. I like to highlight and emphasize that it is a preference for it. We try our best to place students to fit all of their needs for the quiet environment, as well as otherness like tidy room, messy room. That's where if it's not up to your standards, or if you're having frustrations or anything like that, your resident assistant is a really great resource to help support you while you're living on campus. Sometimes it takes a little conversation with those roommates to kind of get the level of cleanliness known to all of what that is. So fill out all of this information. It's important to note that pets and animals are not permitted on campus. However, should you have a medical reason for an emotional support animal, this is where you would start that application process as well.
Awesome. I'll also jump in here, Michelle, and sort of point out a few of these personal profile options. And this circles back to what Serena mentioned. So if you prefer a quiet environment, for example, you would certainly want to note that here. And our residence life team, they really do, in my opinion, an amazing job, or they do their best job in terms of pairing you or putting you in a housing option that is going to suit that preference. And then, of course, if they can't meet it directly or they can't explicitly fit you within that preference, they'll communicate that with you. And then, of course, like Michelle noted, always being in constant communication with your HP or your RA if there's any issues that arise. Of course, that's not something that we foresee happening, or we hope that that doesn't happen, but we want to also make sure that you feel fully supported in this process. Pass it back to Michelle if she has anything to add on here.
No, I think that's wonderful, Jordan. Let's see what's on the next step after this. Perfect. So this is where it's really important. This is your residence contract. So when we say, yes, you've agreed through a residence contract, this is it right now. It's really important to read through it, as well as download it and keep it for your records. Once you have read through that contract and understand your rights and responsibilities as a resident student here, then you're going to click that you have agreed to it and essentially give that permission for us to process your application.
I'll jump in here and I'll say this is not one of those, update your phone, you click the terms and conditions that you agree and you just move to the next step. This is one that you definitely read through and you make sure you fully understand to make sure that your expectations are aligned with what our expectations are. So whether you're going to download it or email it to yourself, absolutely read it before you continue on through the next step, because once you click next step and you've clicked off, or you've checked off that you've agreed, you've read the information, all that sort of stuff, you're going to submit your application. And so I'll pass back to Michelle for the last stage here.
Perfect. Yeah, so this is important. So once you have read through that, you've kept a copy for yourself, you've got to this page through that next step. This is you, once you've clicked finished submitting that application to live in residence. It's not the final step though. That's really important to note that this is just the application final step for us to get your information and your preferences. From that step, you're going to go back to that original page. So now you've done step one, which is apply for residence under the phase 2 or graduate studies, or you see the resident services for on-campus residents. Now you're going to do step 2, which is pay my residence down payment. Once you have paid that $500 down payment after submitting your application, now you are confirmed for residence and your application will be processed. If you do not pay the $500 down payment, we will not continue to place and process your application. And I think that's a really important point that people need to remember. It's not a deposit, so it's not a refundable. The $500 down payment goes into part of those fees. So you're already putting $500 into the required fees for you to pay by that deadline.
Also, something to help people understand why we received that down payment essentially is that commitment that you are prepared to move to that next stage. And like Michelle said, it allows our residence team to then begin the full process of making sure that we're going to have a room and a spot for you here in Thunder Bay or Aralia. And so on that note, that leads us to our final question period. Looks like we have a few minutes left, so I'll see if there's any open questions. The first one here is, when is the deadline to apply for room spaces? That's a really good question. If you're joining us this winter, we encourage you to begin that application as soon as possible. The earlier we can plan and prepare for your arrival and make sure that we have a spot for you here on campus is the most ideal scenario. What we don't want to happen is for you to assume that you have a spot here, because we often will talk about how residence is guaranteed for certain students. And that is a common misconception, that when they arrive on campus, they can simply walk into a residence. Unfortunately, you do have to do a little bit of planning and you do have to apply for it and register for it beforehand. If you're joining us in the spring, summer, like Michelle mentioned, typically our application opens for that in the February, so a few months out. And then for our fall intake, the deadline that you're looking at is typically June 1st. That's not necessarily a hard deadline. So if it does pass, and based on room availability and space availability, we will continue to accept applications. However, if you do fill it out by that June 1st deadline, more or less we can almost guarantee you a spot here on campus, which is really important. And that's why we always encourage you to begin the processes earlier. So whether if we're slightly behind, if we're slightly delayed, or maybe when you go to apply for your student visa and they want to see, you're committed to coming here on campus and joining Lakehead University, that is another supporting document that you can submit. You know, I have a place to stay when I get to campus. Another question we have is, do we get declining balance per month or per year? So I can answer that one, but I'll ask them to keep an ear out if I misspeak here. Your declining balance is fully topped up at the beginning of the year, and then it works as you purchase stuff, it slowly goes down. If you hit that zero mark, or maybe a few cents left on it, maybe even a couple semester or a couple months in, you can certainly add to it. Or maybe a birthday comes and happens while you're on campus and you simply want to top up your declining balance, you're more than welcome to do that. If you fully run out and you're not looking to add any more, simply put, you don't have to add any more. You can still access your regular meal plan if that's what you have a declining balance through.
Yeah, we do for the Thunder Bay campus separate. So you don't get the whole $800 in the fall. You do get it for the whole academic year. So you are correct in that, Jordan, but we do try and separate it so it's not the entire $800 for the whole year, in case you start getting excited and your routine at Starbucks becomes 2 times a day. And we like to make sure that students do have the money for the entire academic year. So you'll get $400 for first semester and $400 for second. That being said, you're always welcome to top up more. So Jordan, you're
good to know. Good to know. You see, I've been here for 2.5 years full time and many years before that as a student and as a part-time employee, and I'm learning something new. So thank you for sharing that, Michelle. And on that note, it looks like we've addressed all of our open questions. Thank you for checking out today's video. If you have any questions, you can always comment below. Stay connected and follow us on our social media channels to stay informed about upcoming webinars and get an insider sneak peek of Lakehead University. See you next time.